It is my pleasure to introduce our next conversation, the rights of sex workers and Black trans people. Kyan is a compassionate powerhouse performer, activist, organizer, community-based researcher, and public figure in the trans and sex worker rights movements. As the founder and executive director of Glitz, she works to provide holistic care to LGBTQ plus sex workers while serving on the following boards: SWAP USA, Caribbean Equality Project, SOAR Institute, and NY TAG. As an international public speaker, her presentations include the Desiree Alliance, Creating Change, Sister Song, Harm Reduction Coalition, and the International AIDS Conferences. Now, it is my pleasure to moderate this conversation, so let's get started. Welcome, Kyan. We're so happy to have you here talking about trans and sex worker rights. But before we jump into the questions, I know I gave that introduction for you, but I'd love to pass the mic to you so that you can help us set the stage. Introduce yourself, cover any professional or personal, storytelling that you'd like to share with us today. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I'm Kyan Dorshow, founder of Glitz Inc. I'm presently in DSW. It's therapy after going to the doctor. I just had a double mastectomy last Tuesday. And yes, I'm still working and up on my feet. We'll have better sound when I walk up out of the store, but that's who I am.
Yes,
and I love you all.
It.
Happy Pride.
Yes, happy Pride. Pride is every day. You are a busy person, so I appreciate you taking time as you are in transition now, going to a quiet space. So we will be mindful of that, and thank you for the accessibility, tools that you're setting us up with here for success. So I just also want to use this chance to remind everyone to drop any questions in the chat, any reflections. We would love to bring them up to our guest speaker today so that we can make sure that you get your questions answered. So to start off, we would love to know, what are some of the most common misperceptions about sex work that impedes progress in the area of sex workers' rights?
Oh, as far as the stigmas, because that's what they are. They're based in biased stigmas that society just placed on sex work. Let's be real, and the real reality is sex work has been around since the Bible, and probably before the Bible. It wasn't just Mary Magdalene. There were brothers that shared wives and bartered with their wives. So this conception that sex work is not work, oh, sweetie, it's work. When you're negotiating with your husband for a couch or a washing machine or a dryer, that is sex work. When you don't want to give it up, but that piece of ass gets it done. It's crazy. But that is one of the misconceptions people have. It's the constant flaws of other people's opinions about sex work that ruin the human rights for somebody surviving. Most sex workers are not trust fund babies doing something to pay their parents back. Most sex workers are survivors, and people need to know that.
Yes, and I hope that people are listening to your conversation as you're walking through, dropping knowledge and speaking your truth. And if not, tell them to gather around and get some popcorn and some water. Yes. So first of all, thank you for the work that you do. I really appreciate the call out and the call in that this is, one of the original jobs, previous to biblical history as well. And, folks like you who are bringing visibility to this space, I just really want to take the short time that we have to, challenge people to first think differently about it. Also engage in conversations, not just say, yeah, I know a person that, they can actually, schedule some time regularly with people who are in this line of work so that we can create more empathy, more emotional intelligence, and effectively more support in this space. So I'd love to just also go back to, just setting the stage here. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on. So can you explain the difference between legalization of sex work and decriminalization of sex work? And also, in your opinion, which approach do you think would be most helpful to work on first?
I'm going to be totally honest. As a Black person, I don't think any approach is going to protect a Black trans sex worker, a sex worker of color. Because most, as we know, The majority of people that get arrested are us. That other marginalized community, or what I should say is non-marginalized, doesn't really face what we face, doesn't really go through what we go through. And more than likely, we're going to say first, more than likely, they're not going to experience incarceration, jail, arrests for sex work. It's going to be people of color because we are the targeted audiences. We are the people the cops want to reprimand and make feel like they're held accountable for their sin or their crime. So when you say decrim, what does that really mean for a colored person? What does that really mean for a marginalized community member? And when you say legalization, what the hell does that mean? Because to legalize means that you would have to, one, give up all your what is the word? Anonymity. I think it's something like that. But that's a reality. Is that you're gonna have to give up your ID, your name, and register. Am I gonna register? Fuck no. Would I inspire anybody else to register? Not at all. Not in this marginalized world. No. Because if you're looking at from a political standpoint, decriminalization and criminalization, we're looking at some real problems here for people of color. There is a privileged community. Can we sit right there? So I can I was looking for a spot where it's probably not going to annoy people, but I got to do this.
Yeah, I think people need to hear you, so go ahead and annoy them. Okay. I don't think it's an annoyance.
If we're looking at society and community and politicians and politics all together, all of these people stand on the other side of the judicial system. They stand on the other side of a jail cell. They don't have access to our lives or our information or our history. A lot of this and a lot of the politics behind sex work are not done by people of color or not even sex workers. They're done by researchers, academics that feel they know a sex worker better than a sex worker knows a sex worker. So if we add politics, decriminalization, that, and all of that to the spectrum, it's Black people. It's people like you and me that would be criminalized the most on any level. If you remove sex work from it, we're still gonna go to jail for something. They're gonna find one reason or another. We're living in a world right now where they're taking away women's rights, which it's ludicrous because most of these people are men. Men having a choice to take away the rights of a woman. If you start there, where are you going next? Are we going back to slavery? Is this the look when you say decriminalize and legalize? Is all of that going to break down because now the standard is set high? When you talk about women's reproductive systems, you're setting a course. This is not just thought about. This is a planned action. Then what else do you go after next? Transgender women bathrooms. They're already fighting about the Olympics and whether a trans woman should be in the Olympics. Mind your fucking business. This is where we need to start. A human life is a human life. This is where we need to start. But when it comes to that very particular area, decriminalization and legalization, at the end of the day, people of color are going to suffer. If we legalize, Black people, trans people need to be the head of writing what those laws and bills look like to protect us. Because you're not going to be able to protect us writing in your way what you think sustainability is for a sex worker. And if you are that politician fighting for either or, let's get a scholarship plan set in place. Let's get the 40 acres and a mule trans people need because y'all are still treating us like we are the backward slaves. So let's start there. As a politician, they need to wake the fuck up and really get out in the street. Ask a sex worker before you make a judgment or a law or a bill about a sex worker. Here's another just a so to me, this is going to be a heated. Probably we're going to get a lot of bad shit over this.
Go for it. Go for it. You
Most
got
of the
it.
people doing this work are privileged white women that are behind decrim, that are behind all this stuff, decriminalization, legalization, are non-sex workers and white women of privilege. We need to be clear here. There are very few men in the sex worker advocacy and activism world. And let's be very clear, there are very few trans women speaking up about the real issues that will happen with both sides, legalization or decriminalize. So I'm at a point, and I'm very proud of my decisions and the way I speak. I don't really trust either one of them. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the system that just, by the way, did a rent hike for 3.25 this morning. Sweetie, these systems are set up to fail people of color, to fail trans women, to fail our community. So we need to be clear. These decisions to improve the world with decriminalization or legalization are not choices made by us. If I was giving any advice to a sex worker, I would tell you to be independent. Don't tell a motherfucker about anything, and keep yourself together. Keep it on top, keep it on fleek, and keep yourself independent from all of it.
Yes. Thank you so much for speaking your truth. I appreciate you taking us there. I think that more folks need to hear this perspective. As you're saying, you're calling out and calling in as well. Let's get those scholarships. Let's make sure that we support, independent.
Let's get housing.
Yes.
Let's get mental health therapy. Let's get affordable housing. Try that. Matter of fact, why don't you build the NYCHA system, New York City Housing Authority, just for the LGBTQIA, BIPOC, and all the pluses in between here. Let's have something specific for a specific marginalized community. That way we won't be chased out of NYCHA. We won't be harmed because we'll be community taking care of community.
Yes. Okay. I have a live question here from Rich Richards, who actually spoke at the beginning of today's summit, calling in from Jamaica. And their question is a bit, as they say, it's a bit complex. How can we as a community here in Jamaica empower the trans women here who are sex workers?
Start by listening to them. It's very hard, and start by understanding they're marginalized. And it's Jamaica. So it looks a lot different when you say stand up. It looks very different when you say give them their rights. They have to be politicized. And that politicizing in Jamaica may look different, may be harmful, may actually cause them real harm. So Jamaica is kind of a sore spot, but there are people and organizations in Jamaica. Connect is one of them that I believe in and trust, are taking the lives of trans women and turning them into activists and advocates for themselves. It's cis people, cis queer people lending their autonomy to the work so trans women can have a voice, so they can speak out. And we need a lot of that in Jamaica, Trinidad, the Philippines, Mongolia, places where you don't think trans women exist. We need to be politicizing our own people, like Miss Major was politicized in Attica back in the 60s during the riot. That was a cis man, a cis Muslim man that saw fit to help her sustain her community. That kind of work can be done in Jamaica and around the world. So I would say lift your sisters, hold them high. Give them the avenues and the platforms. Most of all, give them the love. Listen to what they need.
I always like to bring people around a nice table with like a hot plate. Soup is my friend, my best friend. And I feel like that opens up a lot of conversation. We can talk about our ancestors. We can talk about the present. We can talk about the future. So that I will just add that on to Rich's question here. Have some dinner together, have some lunch together, and fill the belly so that we can have more clarity and more nourishment, and then, keep it moving. I think food sovereignty is at the heart of
We're
all of
having
our
a
problems.
food insecurity right now globally. So having these conversations around food help uplift the moment and helps create the conversation because you fill in the soul. And once you fill that soul, you'll get a lot out of a conversation around some good victuals.
Yes, yes. Okay, I want to get into your organization that you founded, Glitz. Tell us a little bit about Glitz and what you're excited to share that's going on right now so that we can support.
Right now, we just had a graduate from UCLA with her master's, now going for her doctor's. She will be the first Black trans woman I know that is coming up out of UCLA as Dr. Vanessa Wari. We have a trans woman in her second year of law school at John Jay. Big up to Guyana because that's where she's from. So you're able to turn a sex worker into something marvelous. We have another scholarship going to one of our queer members that's going to NYU School of Music in September. And we're literally looking at education as the first step in tomorrow for community. I built Glitz because nobody else would. Because with all these LGBTQIA organizations in New York, nobody ever thought to build a home, an apartment, not a room, not a closet, not a box, but an apartment, and then furnish it with everything it needs so they can sustain and see a future in a different light. Yes, sex work exists. Yes, most of our community has had to survive from it. But what does it look like to change a sex worker into the next president, into the next board member, into the next everything that we need? Doctors, nurses, therapists, mental health therapists, social workers, case managers. That's the work. I don't care if you're sucking dick or doing anything in the street. It's how do we take you from one point to the next and sustain you so you can help somebody else. So I created Glitz so other community members can create their own Glitz. So we can have little Glitzes all over this city and globally. So we are building our own utopias in our likeness, and the government has very little to do with Glitz other than coming to visit. And yes, please drop off a check. We need one.
Yes, yes. You were dropping so much knowledge, and time is flying.
Here is another one. This is a good one.
Yes.
So on Friday, the Prime Minister of Italy for LGBT affairs, which is connected to the Vatican, first time it's ever been done, is coming to the Glitz location to meet with everybody, to talk with everybody for a couple of hours. And this has never happened in the world. Never have we had a pope that said, I agree, we have done wrong. And never has a Black trans woman had access to creating this conversation. And it will happen Friday at the Glitz location. And this is how you sustain community. You get in the doors as a Black trans woman, you get in the doors and the seats that we have never been able to sit to, and you make your presence known. This is what you do in colorism. You change the color and make it all brown and black.
I love that. Congratulations. Also, I'm originally from the States. I live in Argentina right now. I'm not a religious person, but the Pope is Argentine and he's changing up a lot of things with the Vatican. So shout out to that. It's about coming together, right? And supporting. What are your hopes for this, first time ever experience?
I hope that the conversation, I met the young man in the airport, by the way. I hope that the conversation is heard. We have been damaged by the Catholic Church. We have been sexualized. We have been punished. We have been outed. We have been flogged. We have been beating for hundreds and thousands of years, decade after decade of sexism and rape, and you name it, from the Catholic Church. We need to have positive conversations on how to heal. And how can your connection to us? How can your involvement, how can you meeting a Cayenne change the conversation on this around the world?
Yes, I
The
love
real
this.
hope is that the Catholic Church believes enough to write a check as well.
Yes, yes. Let's
We
collect
need
those
more
checks.
housing. We need
Yes.
more housing and more spaces that we
Mhm.
can say are our own. Not a stone wall, because that's not ours. That's not ours. Marsha P. Johnson and Sylvia Rivera are dead. What about the older icons, the legends, the living legends like Sharon Grayson, Sharon Grayson, Miss Major, Tracy O'Brien, who I don't like, but our elders who were there at that time that are finding it hard to sustain with the work they have done. We need to support our elders that have had no support from a government or a city or a system. So there's no retirement plan for a Black trans icon, advocate, anything that has done this work. You're just basically marginalized even more because you don't have the money to sustain. So how do we create retirement funds for people like that? Even for me, when can I lay down and say the work is enough? I just had a double mastectomy on Tuesday, and I'm still on the beat, never put the phone down, because our community needs the love. And it matters more to me. Yes, my health matters and self-care matters, but my community is marginalized and will always be hunted and always without. So I will never have a day off. We need to change that.
Yes, Cayenne, thank you again. I cannot say enough. You are a light in the world. So thank you so much for shining your light. We've got about 5 minutes left and I want to talk to you all day. But we do have some live questions coming up in the chat. I want to give some voice to here. This is again from Rich. I'm having some sessions through Jamaica AIDS Support for Life for trans women. Is there something that you would be able to lend your voice to? So I'm just going to say, like, Rich, you need to connect with Cayenne.
Yes, if you go to info at glitzinc.org, email us and let me know how I can be involved. If you have a summit, a conference, invite me. I'm there. I think outsiders can go into Jamaica and say what you can't. And I'm one Black bitch that will not be stopped. I will be heard.
Can you repeat that one more time where people can find you? Because I know it's not just Rich that wants to invite you. Mm-hmm.
It's info at glitzinc.org. That's info, the A with the circle, glitsinc.org.
Great. Thank you so much. All right. So with the about 3 minutes that we have left, let's say 4, stretching time. What is time? You got a book coming out, Falling into Fire. I'm so curious about this.
Out of the pan and into the fire.
Okay, out of the pan and into the fire. Can you let us know anything you'd like about this book in the last couple of minutes?
I'm going to be sharing conversations and cooking with leaders in the community. So we're going to break bread and tell life stories within this book and possibly a video as well to do for probably Netflix. And I also have the People's Beach. If you go online and look up the People's Beach, we're fighting to turn Pier 1 and Pier 2 in Reese Beach into a land trust owned by us, for us, by people of color. The land where we have been touched on, felt on, and have died will belong to us, so to speak, in this city of gentrification.
All right, so let's get you to Jamaica and around the world. I'm going to go ahead and just echo what you're calling for, which is the support to get your voice, and those who have the same message and who have the energy as well, because not everyone wants to come out because they know that they're not going to be heard. They know that politics don't have their best
they could be police.
Yeah,
I'm not scared of the cops. I done been arrested 1,000 times.
Well, I'm sending you energy to stay safe. And that they see your light before they try to fall into their biases and whatever else gets into them, gets them into that madness. So thank you so much, Cayenne, for your time. Please, final thoughts, encouragement, food for thought. You've already shared so much and I appreciate you, but leave us with a note to think about.
Inspire yourself. Inspire yourself to inspire others. That's most important.
I love that. All right. So inspire yourself to inspire others. This has been such a beautiful conversation. Thank you for your time. I know that you are a busy person. You are, moving, working, you're healing. So I wish you all of the healing vibes as you recover and continue to do your beautiful work and share your voice. Thank you so much. I'm going to be in touch with you because I want to continue to share your message. And I hope folks who are listening now will do the same. So thank you so much and be safe today.
Thank you, everybody. Have a beautiful day.
You too. You too.